Hey everyone, today I want to show you how to rekey your locks so you don't have to pay for expensive hardware, and when all you can do is take a perfectly working lock and change the pins out to create a new combination or a new key. This is a good example of, say, if you're a landlord and you have a tenant that moves out and you fear that, well, I don't want this tenant having access to my property. Maybe there's a spare key that the landlord was not aware of, and the tenant could probably get in. And if you're buying a new home, it's always a good idea to replace the locks because you don't know who has the key, therefore having access to your home. So instead of going out and buying hardware, like a new lock, a new deadbolt, a new doorknob, you can actually just rekey the lock, and it'll save you more money. Saves you money, and it's pretty cool. So this is a doorknob cylinder. This is a Schlage SC1. This is the working key. And as you can see, I don't know if you've ever noticed these before, but there's sometimes on your keys, you'll have a series of numbers. Example, this one is 34477. This tells me the code to this lock. This is how it's pinned. This key is 5 pins, or 5 cuts. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I don't know if you can see that. Let me see if I can demonstrate that a little better. You always count closest to the shoulder here of the key. So this is the shoulder, this is the bow, the handle. And you always start here. The first number is here. So this is 34477. This is how this lock is pinned, and I'm going to show you that. As we can see, we can take the key and turn it, and it works. And I'll show you how to rekey it if you don't have a key. We can use a shim. What we're gonna need to do is, first thing we're gonna wanna do is remove the C-clip. Well, this came from a doorknob, a Schlage doorknob. I'm sorry I didn't demonstrate removing the cylinder from the knob. I could do that probably in another video. But we wanna remove this clip here. This retaining clip, this C-clip right here is what's holding the cylinder in. You can see when we put the key in, it turns, and if we were to pull out, if this clip wasn't here, the whole cylinder would come out and all the pins and springs would come flying out. So that's why it's there. It's to retain the cylinder inside the housing here. So let's remove the C-clip. I have here something called a pickle fork, otherwise known as a quick set tool. It has 2 prongs here. It has a multi-purposes. It'll help us remove this clip. So let's remove the C-clip. That's the first thing we want to do. Now you got to be careful. As soon as you remove the C-clip, you want to make sure that you don't push the cylinder in and out, because the springs that are held in the pins up here in the Bible, they're called driver pins. They're pressing down on the bottom pins. If we just push it out, all the springs are gonna come out. It's gonna be a pain to... We wanna put the 2 prongs into that open gap, because we wanna put one edge, each edge of the prong to the clip. And then we wanna just push it out. If you don't have one of these, you could probably use a flathead screwdriver, a small one. So you can see how I kinda pried it open. And I can see that there's a little gap here, and I can use the tip of this. You may have to just push it a little bit more. You can see that. I'm trying to... Sorry, it's just kind of difficult with the camera. I'm just gonna carefully remove that clip so it doesn't go flying. So remove the C-clip, see that? Let's put it in a safe spot. So now at this point, the cylinder is pretty much free. If I was to put the key in at this point, slide it, the pins could all pop out. So there's something called a plug follower. It's one of these metal. This is a brass one. They have different types. If you don't have one of these, you can use a AAA battery. But what I'm gonna do is we're gonna insert this follower and we're gonna push the cylinder, right? We're gonna push it forward. And what this is gonna do is it's gonna push, the top pins are gonna drop on this instead of popping out. And it's gonna allow us so we don't have to mess with the top pins. But in order to do this first, we need to use the key or a shim. If you don't have a key, we can use a shim, and I'll show you how to do that after. But basically, you'll insert the key very carefully. And then you're gonna wanna turn it about 45 degrees. And the reason for that is the top pins here, see this Bible? This is the alignment of where the pins are. So if we were to just put that plug follower and just pull the pins out, or the cylinder out, so we turn it in order so that the two pins, the pins and the driver pins and the chamber pins don't make contact. So once you have the key turned about 45 degrees, we're gonna take the flat end of a follower and we're gonna push forward. All right, we're gonna push forward. Okay, here we go. And we're just gonna push it gently. And we can hear that. If you look, you can see those pins. See, the springs are pushing down those pins, and then the purpose of this tool, this plug follower, is so that the pins on the top and the springs stay put. And as you can see here, this is the cylinder. Here's the bottom pins. So I'm gonna remove the key, and you can see they have different depths. Remember that key code, 34477. The keyway is here. This is where you insert the key, and this is where you start the count. So this is the 3, this is the first one. 34477. This first pin is number 3. And I'm gonna open up the pin kit real quick, and I'm gonna show you the measurement. If you don't have the key, like an example, we're gonna use the shim. If you don't know these pins and you need to create a key, like recreate that lost key, you can use the pins to create the key. So and you measure it, and I'll show you real quick. Let me just pause it so I can open up this pin kit. So we're looking at the pinning kit. This is a quick set and a Schlage pin kit. They do have universal ones. They have all types of different sizes, but this one is specifically for quick set, which is a KW1 keyway, or KW quick set. And this is the Schlage, the SC series. So what we're looking at is, this is the bottom pin 0, and this is the measurement. And this is basically the key code. So remember, we had 34477. So pin 3, pin 4, pin 7, and 7. So 3, 4, 4, 7, 7. That's how we pin it. That's how it's pinned. So in order, to find these measurements, first thing we'll do is we're gonna take out the first pin, this guy right here, this guy right there. Remember, the keyway is where you begin the count. So 3 is the first cylinder. So I'm gonna hold my finger over the rest of those holes right there, and I'm just gonna drop out that pin. As you can see, I dumped it out. I'm just gonna put it down so I can have 2 hands free. I have some digital calipers here. As you can see, this is what we're going to use to measure the pin. So I'm going to turn it on, and we will use millimeters. We could use inches, but this pinning kit, just by looking at, you know, it's millimeters. So I set it to mm. I take the first pin. Let me go ahead and put it in the caliper so I can measure it. Sorry guys, this is actually inches. So as you can see, I'm on inches. So I'm measuring the pin. See how I have it in my calipers? 0.207 inches. So what does that tell me? So the pin 0 is 165, 1 is 180, 195, 210. Oh, hey, 207. We're really close to 210. That's a 3. That's the first number in our code, 34477. The reason it's not perfect is because when they manufacture these pins, they're not exact. Machines are not perfect in the manufacturing processes. There's different tolerances. So you just basically, when you're measuring it, you want to go to the one, you know, use the number or the pin that's closest to the measurement that you have. So that's number 3. I'm gonna go ahead and put that in my, because we're gonna rekey it to something else. So 0, 1, 2, 3. I'm gonna drop that in 3. Okay, I'm gonna take the next pin to the next one out of the chamber. See that, right? This doodle right here, number 2. I'm just gonna hold my finger over it and then just drop the pin out real quick so they don't, you know, I don't lose order of them. You can also use a cardboard if you want, or a pinning tray. So I don't know if you can see that. Here's the pin. Let me go ahead and put it in the caliper. We'll measure it. And remember, we're using inches. So there's the pin, and it's 0.221. So which one are we looking up? Look at 225. 221 is closer to this number. You know, it's not the 210, the 240. It's closer to this 225. It's only four hundredths or thousandths out of the way. So that's number 4, right? So that's the second code on the key, 34477. Okay, now we're gonna go to number 3 on the cylinder. This guy right here. And I'm gonna go ahead and just hold my finger over it, dump it out. Give me a second. I'm gonna go ahead and look at that, see that? I'm gonna go ahead and put it in the caliper and we'll measure it in inches. So there it is. This time it's 222. So again, which one is closer? 222 is closest to 4. Not 210, not 240. So that's the third digit in the key code, 34477. All right, we'll drop that there. Oops. Let me grab the next one. So you can see that we have 2 more in the chamber. This is our 4th one. I'm gonna go ahead and dump it out. Put my finger over the other one so it doesn't fall out. And again, I do that so I don't lose order, like which chamber it belonged to. So here's the pin. Okay, so it's here. So now we're reading 266. So 266, is it close to 255 or 70? It's closer to 7, so that's the 4th code in our, the 4th digit in our code, 34477. Okay, the last chamber, it's right there. I'm gonna go ahead and, I'm sorry, it's backwards, this guy right here. Again, I'm gonna just go ahead and dump it out. Do that off camera real quick. It's a little easier. Okay, here it is right here. Just gonna hop that into my digital caliper real quick. Okay, again, this time it's 266 again. So again, what is it closest to? This one, right? 270. So that's it. So 34477. Using this chart and the measurement with the calipers, we were able to decode the key. So if you had a missing key to the lock, you know, somebody stole your keys, you lost your keys, and for some reason you need to reuse that key, like say if you rent an apartment and you tell your manager, you don't want to tell your manager I lost a key. If you don't want to hire a locksmith, if you know what you're doing, because you never want to work on a lock that is in use, because if you mess it up now, you don't have a working lock on your door, and that could be a problem. And plus, your manager or your landlord might not like you messing with the locks. So that's how you decode it. So there's going to be cases where you may need to have that missing key. Most of the time, a lot of people rekey it in order to get rid of that key, so that way there's nobody that has access to it. And that's what we're going to do now. So the next thing, let me show you how to do it with a shim. So let me just put the pins back in real quick. So I'm just going to put it in the same order real quick. I'm going to pause it. I'm going to pin it up to the old key real quick. And you know what, I'll show you. I'm trying to show you how I'm pinning it. So now that the chamber is empty, I'm gonna pin it back to 34477. So I'm gonna take the number 3 pin, and if you look for Schleg, the bottom pins have a flat top and a pointed bottom. So it's kind of hard to see on the camera. Hang on. You can see that. There's kind of like a, you can see how there's like a pointed edge and then there's a flat top. See how the top is flat and then the, sorry, my fingers. See how it's pointed? Let me see that. So that pointed side will go down in the chamber. So remember the keyway, where the key goes inside, that's where you start. This is the first digit here, the first chamber. So we're gonna put a 3. Okay, and then 4. Just getting the sharp side down. I know I should probably use some tweezers, pinning tweezers, but 4. 4, again, another 4 pin. Make sure that the sharp part is pointing down, and then we're gonna grab a 7 and a 7, which is these two dudes right here, the long guys. Okay, sharp part is going down like that. Let me grab another one. Make sure the sharp part's going down. All right, so right now when it sits in there, it's gonna look all weird, and the reason it's like that is the driver pins, right? So the driver pins on top of the Bible, as I was showing you earlier, you see how that pin, that pin right there, I don't know if you can see them. See that pin sticking in there? That's the driver pin for the first one over here. And that pin will set down in here. And see how there's like a gap already? See how there's like a gap, it's not fully flush with the top. That driver pin is gonna sit in there in each one of these. So that's how the lock is able to lock, is that those driver pins are sitting in there, so it's not able to turn because those pins are resting inside those holes and those gaps, causing it to bind, to lock. When the key's inserted into the keyway, those pins are pushed up, and the driver pins and the bottom pins meet here at the shear line. The shear line is what's this part right here. Let me insert the key. See how it's all flush, like it's all straight? See how it's all flat and nice and smooth and flush? There's no gaps. That's gonna, the driver pins rest on top of that, and then it's able to turn freely because the pins are not being pressed down. So in order to put this back in, I'm gonna put the key in. We're gonna take the follower, and we're gonna make sure that you remember the way you took it out, because you're gonna wanna put it in that way. And again, you're gonna wanna turn that, see how, we wanna turn it about 45 degrees. So I'm gonna go this way. We can see that. Let me see, there we go. So what I like to do is just kind of push down, because those pins, driver pins, just kind of push it carefully like that. Remove the back. And before I turn it, I guess I could turn it, but just make sure that it doesn't pop out, because that clip isn't there. So just be careful. I'm gonna grab that C-clip that I took off. Let me just kind of do this off camera so it doesn't fall out. I'm gonna put that C-clip on there so that way the retainer keeps the plug on there. And what I like to do is just kind of get it set right here, and then use that quick set tool to force it. I'll show you if I can. So you see, and I use the edge of this tool, this flat side, to kind of push it to lock it. See that? So now that it's back on there. So now, see how the key can't go anywhere, and see how we can turn it. See the key works. Just now we can take that key out. So we can see, like, if we just put it right there, or we put a key blank in. Let me grab a key blank real quick just to show you. You can see here's an uncut SC1. We can put it into the chamber and it doesn't turn. See that? It doesn't turn. So this is basically, we keyed this. So now let me show you how to take it out with a shim. So you're gonna need a key blank that matches the cylinder. So in this case, this is a Schlage lock, right? A SC1 keyway. And this is an SC1 key blank. So a shim is a thin piece of metal that we use, we turn the lock around in the back to slide, just like the follower, the plug follower, right? Remember how we put it in the back and we pushed it? This shim is gonna basically ride up in between the driver pins and the bottom pins, and it's so thin that it's gonna go in there, and that the top pins are gonna actually rest here so that we can slide the cylinder out very easily. So let me show you how that's done. Again, we're gonna need to remove the C-clip, so let me go ahead and do that again. So just gonna kind of turn the clip if I can, so I can put it in a position to where the little prongs or whatever can push the clip off. I don't know if we can see this, but I'm gonna go ahead and put the two prongs on each end of the, open the end of the C-clip so I can push it off. Let me, okay, so I don't know if you can see that. I created a little gap. I'm able to just pry the clip off. See that? And put it in a safe place. So now we don't have a key, so remember, we need to turn it. We need to turn it that 45-degree angle. So what do? Well, take this shim and we put it in the back. So again, this is the Bible. We want to line up the shim to that, so that way the top pins will fall onto this. So we basically wiggle our way into it. So I just kind of, there we go. So there's a, see how it can stick in there. It's really thin. And what I do is just kind of line it up like that, right? And I'm gonna turn it around, and we're gonna use a key blank, because what the key blank is gonna do, the key blank is, there's no depth to it. So the teeth per se, or the flats as we call them, the depths, right? The teeth, the little valleys inside the key, if it's not cut, it's gonna push the pin all the way up. And that's what we wanna do, because we don't want the pins, the bottom pin or the top pins, to be stuck down. We wanna push them all the way up, so that way that shim, that little metal shim, can slide in. So what I'm gonna do is insert this blank key as far as it'll go. Let's see if I can do this on camera. What you want to do is you hold it, and then you just kind of hold it right here, your finger, like that. And you just kind of, you don't want to push it too hard, because if you do, it's just going to bend this material, right? So you just want to hold it enough to where there's pressure. And when you do this, you kind of just push you're going to want to push the key blank in and out very like softly. And then while you do that, I don't know if you can see that, but you can see the shim going in. And there's gonna be a part where like the key blank is not gonna wanna go in. So that means like the shim is working, it's moving forward. So you're kind of putting pressure on it, and you move the blank in and out. And see, I don't know if you can see that shim going in, but you just kind of keep sliding it. Keep doing it, working it. And what we're doing here is we're pushing that metal. There we go. Looks like, I think we got it. So see, now we can turn it. See that? Because that shim is there. So now what we can do is turn it 45 degrees, pull the blank out, take the shim out, and that can be reused a couple of times. So see, now that it's at that 45-degree angle, now we can take our plug follower, same thing. This time just kind of be careful. I like to just kind of hold it up here, you know, at the Bible, and just kind of put my middle finger on the face of the plug back here on the keyway, and then make sure it's lined up and just push it. I mean, it's kind of hard because of the camera, but once you get it, there we go. So now I can just kind of slide it. See that? There we go. We got that off. Now we can key it up. Right, so there's more details. You can't just pick any of these pins, right? There's laws, there's rules. There's something called max, and that means it's the maximum adjacent cut specification. So what that means is, like on Schlegel, for example, if you have a 0, let me start over, I guess. The max adjacent cut specification is 7. So that means you can't have 7 depths next to each other. It has to be 7 or less. So a 7 can't be next to an 8. So if we start, so we start at 0, let's say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. See, that's 7. So we can't have an 8 next to a 0. We can't have a 9 next to a 1, right? Because that's more than 7 places or 7 values, right? 7. So what we could do we can key it up based on those, and you can research that. There's on Google, you can find out more about Macs. Quickset has 4, so that means you can't have like a 1 next to a 5, or I'm sorry, not a 5, but like a 6. A 1 and a 6 won't work. If you do that, it's gonna bind. The key is not gonna, the teeth are that, I guess it's so steep, those valleys, those teeth, those edges are gonna be so steep that it's gonna cause problems. So that's basically how you key it. That's how you take the lock out of the cylinder if you don't have a key, and if you do have a key. When you're putting it back in, you don't have to worry about the shim. It's just when you take it out. Basically, you know, based on the Macs, you can create your own key or recycle keys. You know, if you have 5, you know, if you have like 5 locks in your house and they're all the same, if they're all Schlage, you know, if they're all Schlage or Quickset, you could actually key them all the same, so that way you have one key. You know, it opens a deadbolt, it opens a front door, it opens a garage door, it opens the bedroom door, whatever else is locked. You can use just that one key to open everything, and that's when you key it, when it's key to like. That's good, but remember, it does have to be the same manufacturer, or not manufacturer, but the same keyway. So Schlage, you know, all your locks will have to be a Schlage. You can't mix like a Quickset and a Schlage because the pins are different, the spaces are different. These spaces right here, so the gap right here, this space in between, this cylinder is for Schlage, so it has its own, you know, spacing and depths. So that's basically it. I hope you learned something if you didn't know this already, and hopefully this helps you understand how to rekey your own locks. You don't have to hire a locksmith, you can do it yourself. You will need the pinning kit, and you will need some tools. You can find them pretty easy on Amazon. The pinning kit is kind of expensive, but if you're a locksmith or if you do this a lot, you will get a return on your investment. If that's it, and if you have any other questions, go ahead and comment, and I will see you at the races.